Hello and welcome everybody back to another episode of Three Fine Legs. It's been quite a while since you last heard from us, but we're back. We're here on the eve of the IPL, and as always, I'm Nikesh Rughani. I'm joined by Abhishek Jhunjhunwala, former IPL player, and fellow BBC broadcaster Ankur Desai as well. So welcome to the show. Lots to discuss ahead of the new season of the IPL. Very exciting one. Doesn't seem as though it's been that long since the last one in the UAE, which was, of course, in the autumn, in October and November of 2020. We're back in India this time. India is excited. Yes, it will be behind closed doors to start with, but the IPL back on home soil and a billion people all rejoicing at that fact. So, Abhishek, let's start with you then. Just give us a brief sort of idea about what this will mean to Indians and Indian fans, just to have the tournament back.
I think that first of all, as we all know, that the cases are rising in India. I mean, if it at all goes into lockdown, there's nothing bigger than the IPL, because people will be sitting home, have nothing to do. So they would wish that the IPL carries on for the whole length of month and a half. And yeah, it means, we all know what it means to Indian fan and Indian public and in India in general and Indian economy. IPL is not just a sporting event; it just pumps in so much money in the economy because it employs so many people, thousands and thousands of people. And yeah, it's just like a festival in India. We all know about that.
And Ankur, you're going to be, of course, covering the tournament over on the BBC Asian network as well. We talk about them every year, don't we? The Mumbai Indians, they're going to be first up in action against the Royal Challengers Bangalore, defending champions, going for an unprecedented third title in a row. They're obviously the team to beat once again. What makes them so good?
Do you know what? I think one of the key aspects of Mumbai Indians over the years has been planning, right? And it's almost like revising for an exam. It's like, start early, make sure you cover every possible angle. And that's what they do. They go to the different parts of India which are probably untapped and find such magical talents, the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, the Pandya brothers are just a few that come off the top of my head, but they've always got pretty much every part of their squad, ticked off. And I think that's something that they're so good at. And they're probably the most complete outfit because they have the most complete set of players, whether it's the all-rounders, whether it's the players at the top of the order, whether it's the local Indian talent as well. So I think for me, that's what sets them apart, really, Nick. And as we've sort of said about them in the past, they have the blockbuster names as well to go with some of the unheralded names who then become stars. The likes of Surya Kumar is a great person who is a great example of that. So I think for me, Nick, planning has been great. And they keep, I suppose, remaining one or two steps ahead of the others, I suppose.
And obviously coached very well by Mahela Jayawardene. They've got Sachin Tendulkar as a team mentor as well. I don't quite know how hands-on he is, but just having somebody of that stature in and around the team has got to be good for these young cricketers. Abhishek, we talked last year about the only concern we had going into the last IPL was their lack of world-class wrist spinner. But Rahul Chahar, he stood up and did a fantastic job. This time, they've gone in with a bit of backup for him. They've signed Piyush Chawla, third highest wicket taker of all time in the IPL as well. Very experienced campaigner, even though still got that baby face, doesn't quite look like the veteran that he is. Do you think that's got a lot to do with the fact that they're not going to be playing any home matches at the Wankhede Stadium? They're going to be playing a lot of matches in Chennai, and we've seen the kind of turn that Chennai's been taking recently as well with the series against England. Do you think that's the reason why they've kind of covered that base?
Yeah, I think so. I think the reason for them to get Piyush Chawla was to get a backup spinner. In terms of a wrist spinner, yes, Rahul Chahar has been exceptional, as you mentioned, in the previous year, in last year's competition. But again, there's just a couple of matches it takes for somebody to lose form in T20 cricket. And you need to have the backup. And that's what they have done with pretty much all their players. They've got Krunal Pandya again, who's been a very good performer for them over the years. But I have a few doubts with his bowling ability going into the tournament. And same with, so that's why they've got their base covered. They've got Jayant Yadav, who's again another off spinner who can make a difference if needed. If somebody's not performing, they can fill that gap with Jayant Yadav as well. So they've got a backup for all their players, and that's why they have been so successful. And they've been able to pinpoint and pick the right players. It's not just about filling lots of players in the squad. I think they've got one of the smallest squad as well in the IPL. And they're overseas. They've only got 6 or 7 overseas players in the squad. Like literally, they're going to pick 4 out of 7. And they've got probably one of the smallest overseas squads. So they've been very smart from day one when it comes to picking the side.
What do you guys make of Jimmy Neesham, by the way? I was going to quickly ask you about Jimmy Neesham, Nick.
I think personally that is a brilliant signing, because last year they perhaps struggled with their bench strength. We talked about the squad size there. It's not the biggest squad. And if somebody, like one of your top 4 or 5 batsmen, maybe even one of your all-rounders, your Krunal Pandya's or somebody like that, misses out, is injured, can't play for whatever reason. We saw somebody like Saurabh Tiwari coming in, and Saurabh Tiwari, he's a solid player. He's been there and done it. He's played for a few different franchises. He's been with Mumbai in a couple of different spells. He does a job, but somebody like Jimmy Neesham just gives you that little bit of X factor. He can bowl, he can bat. He's a member of that New Zealand side that has been so successful over the last couple of years. So I think another great signing. Whether or not he's going to play all of the games or just come in as a bit of a backup, or when they need to rotate and rest some players in the middle of the tournament, we don't know yet. But certainly that, having somebody like Jimmy Neesham is a massive bonus for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's a great all-rounder, and he can add a lot of value to any side. And that's what I meant when I meant they pick the right players. They don't always necessarily go for the big names, but they get the people who get the job done. And that's why they've been so successful over the years. And a lot of teams like Royals and other teams, and especially Royal Challengers Bangalore, who's always gone for the massive names, but when it comes to performance and delivering at a bigger stage, some of them being the biggest name in the industry have failed. And again, the big example is Glenn Maxwell. They've again gone for Glenn Maxwell this year. And I don't think he deserves the price tag which he gets every year. For that, he needs to perform. And when you buy a player for over £1 million, you expect them to perform at least 7 or 8 times out of 18 of those 16 matches, not like 3 times. That way I can pick a club cricketer from England, and I can assure you he will perform twice in the IPL. You don't need to pay £1 million for somebody to perform twice in a competition.
All right. Well, while we're on Glenn Maxwell, then let's talk about the Royal Challengers Bangalore. So you're not overly impressed, Abhishek, with the business of Glenn Maxwell. What about Chris Morris, most expensive player in IPL history? Bought at an auction, that is. He's second only to Virat Kohli in terms of salaries that will be earned across this IPL as well. Worth the money? Overpriced? What do you think?
I think a bit overpriced, but if somebody I have to put my money onto, it'll be somebody like Chris Morris, who brings a lot with the bat and ball. He'll perform every game. He'll give you something. Either he's gonna come good with the ball or the bat. So that's the most important thing, I think. But yeah, when you pick a bowler like Pat Cummins, when they paid 1.4 million last year for Pat Cummins, everyone thought he's just a bowler. To spend that kind of money just on a bowler, I think somewhere down the line is too much. But Chris Morris, yeah, 16 crores, which is 1.6 million pounds, and maybe not worth it. But if you have to put the big bucks, you have to put it to somebody like Chris Morris.
Ankur, is this going to be RCB's year? Virat Kohli, the elusive IPL title that he so treasures. AB de Villiers getting on in years a bit as well. Is this perhaps his last opportunity as well? Those two, they've been part of that franchise for so many years, and they've just never managed to quite get over the line. Yes, they had a much better IPL last time around, but have they got enough, do you think?
They always leave themselves with too much to do, don't they, guys? I mean, like, I remember that year when they got to the final. I mean, I think they had to get in literally through the back door. Then they obviously did well through the eliminator stages. And you just feel that with this team, maybe with this squad, maybe it's their last hurrah, and they've gone and gone for a bit of a Yahoo with signing Maxwell and hoping that he can pull off a few wins off his own back, maybe. I was half expecting they might go for a bit of a squad overhaul this year and maybe get rid of a few more and really change the dynamic of the team up. But I don't really think that this is their time at the moment. I just feel like there are other teams who have recruited better and also have been consistent for the last 2 to 3 years. If you look at the likes of Mumbai and Delhi for sure, but then I think the likes of Sunrisers, Kolkata, that they'll all strengthen, Rajasthan have strengthened. I just don't think that the signing of Maxwell is enough to turn this team into winners, let alone contenders.
You mentioned Delhi there, so we'll move on from the Royal Challengers Bangalore. In fact, just before we do, do you both? Let's start with Ankur. Firstly, do you think Virat Kohli should open the batting? He said he will. He said he's going to. Do you think that's the right place for him?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more balls he faces, the better it is for the team. And I think one thing they've always struggled is with, well, once the Kohli or maybe I suppose AB, once they're out, they struggle to have anyone who can bat in the latter overs and just keep an end ticking over. And Kohli does improve his strike rate once he gets past the 16th, 17th over. So as long as he takes advantage of the power play, I feel like that's an area of his game he needs to improve and maybe score a bit quicker in the power play area. But definitely face as many balls as possible. I think all the best T20 batsmen in the world now want to bat at the top, so he should.
Abhishek, great.
Same for me. I think Virat Kohli should open the innings, and he'll get 120 balls to face. Not all of them, but he'll face majority of them. And also a massive advantage for him. He's always a slow starter in T20 cricket. But when you come into the power play, he's got those gaps to work with, and that will help with his strike rate straight from the word go. Where when he comes after the 6th over, it takes him at least 15, 20 deliveries to get going and to get that strike rate up to 140 and 50. So I think it'll be a perfect opportunity for him to get his strike rate up from the very first over. And once he's past the 6th over, he can carry on that momentum throughout the innings. And it'll help the others to bat around him. He can hold the innings from one end, and the likes of AB de Villiers and all the other players who can play those big shots can bat around him.
So let's move on to the Delhi Capitals then. Of course, big news with Rishabh Pant being appointed as captain. It's quite an interesting move. Ricky Ponting, the head coach, would have had a big say in Rishabh being, given that role in the absence of Shreyas Iyer, who's out injured, of course, and we wish him all the best with his recovery as well. Ankur, what would you make of Rishabh Pant being appointed as captain? We've not seen his sort of leadership skills on show when he's playing for India or the Delhi Capitals before. We know he's a vocal member of the side, particularly behind the stumps. You can guarantee a good bit of banter when he's keeping wicket. But in terms of his leadership skills, have you seen enough? Do you think this is a good decision?
So it's an interesting one for me, because I hope he doesn't change his personality, because that's one of the most charming aspects of him as a person and a cricketer. So I hope he continues to chirp behind the stumps. I hope he continues to have a smile on his face. And, if his bowlers are getting talked around, I hope he doesn't have that furrowed out eyebrow sort of situation. So I hope he's able to still be quite upbeat at the best of times, because that's what he is. And one thing we've seen with Prithvi Shaw over the last 6 months in particular, he's matured so much. The way he plays the game, the test match game, so to speak. I know this is T20 cricket, but he's shown a great maturity in how to adapt and how to understand the situation and take that responsibility and get India over the winning line. So I feel that in T20 cricket, that is something which will hopefully help him in terms of his leadership. I just hope that it doesn't inhibit him as a batsman. I hope he continues to play in that same swashbuckling manner. The only thing I've got to say is we've not really seen a great deal of evidence of how he's going to sort of manage a lot of the big name egos and manage to keep a dressing room happy. If he might have to leave some of his friends out of the team, how's he going to handle that responsibility? How will that affect his performance behind the stumps as well? Because people have questioned his wicket keeping in the past. So whether he can maintain every aspect of his own playing level and at the same time keep that squad happy and work well with Ricky Ponting. I'm quite curious to see that relationship develop as well. Ponting, the old stern master against this young pup. So yeah, very excited to see how it goes. Massive question mark as to how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, I think Ricky Ponting will surely have a lot of influence over the tactical side of things. You would think, not to, say that Rishabh Pant isn't capable of being tactically astute on the field. We've just not seen enough of that. And Ricky Ponting, of course, one of the most successful captains in the history of international cricket. It'd be silly to think that he wouldn't have a big say on the kind of tactics they use out there. But once you're out in the middle, ultimately, you can get a few messages sent to you, but ultimately it's the captain that calls all the shots. Abhishek, just looking at their side as well, obviously with Rishabh as the leader, you've got that good experience of youth and experience out there for the Delhi Capitals. They've kind of shown signs in the last couple of years that they mean business. They've got this, solid coaching setup. The owners seem to all be on board with the kind of vision that Ricky Ponting has got. Is this going to be their year, do you think?
I mean, it's a tough one. First of all, I wouldn't have I mean, it's a great one to give it to Rishabh Pant, but I at the same time feel, are you going to curb him as a cricketer? Are you going to make him a bit more? I mean, will he be able to play as freely as he does when he doesn't have any responsibility? When you have the likes of R. Ashwin in the side, I would have probably given the captain to R. Ashwin because he's an experienced player. He's been there, he's done that, he's won trophies, he's one of the most experienced cricketers in India. And he's got a great cricketing mind as well. And with somebody like Rishabh Pant, I would just want him to go out there and bat as freely as he has in Test cricket or in any other form of cricket, to give him that with that added responsibility. Are you curbing his cricket? Are you making him a bit more responsible where he's thinking, oh, a lot depends on me. I cannot bat the way I have been doing for the past year and a half. And would that make a huge impact in the team's outcome at the end of the day? That's my only concern with Rishabh Pant. Yes, he could turn out to be an absolute rock star the way he has been whenever he's been under pressure, whenever you have thrown things at him, he's come out on top. And that might happen again with his captaincy. But I still feel that to give a captaincy to somebody who's so young, who's just settling into international cricket, who's settling into the IPL, is it the right move? But Ricky Ponting, you can't really doubt him. He's probably one of the most experienced coaches and captain. So you got to take what he's done. You got to. There must be an understanding. There must be a vision behind it. But I still feel that I don't want to lose Rishabh Pant as a player.
Absolutely, very, very good point. So it'd be interesting to see how the Delhi Capitals go this season as well. One side that has underwhelmed, given some of their recent signings over the last few years, the Rajasthan Royals, obviously very heavy English influence. Manoj Badale, one of the owners, of course, hailing from the UK himself. You've got Ben Stokes, Joss Butler, Jofra Archer, who we don't know if he's going to play any part in this year's IPL at the moment through injury as well. But when you've got some, players like Stokes and Butler, two of the best cricketers on the planet right now, particularly in white ball cricket, you've got to wonder what has gone wrong for the Rajasthan Royals over the last couple of seasons. Really, they should have been performing a lot better. They had Steve Smith in there as leader, of course. He's now left and joined the Delhi Capitals, and Sanju Samson will be leading the Rajasthan Royals. What do you make of the Rajasthan Royals, Ankur? It's an interesting one, isn't it? They've had all those X-factor players. They've not really been able to string any kind of run together, any kind of consistency. On their day, they can be outstanding, but then we've seen them lose some games which they never should have lost.
I think you're 100% right, and I think leadership, you touched upon it there, that's one of the clear things they need to sort out. They've had a lot of changes in the backroom. Do you remember the whole Shane Warne stuff? Like, people didn't really know whether he was coming or going. I don't think he's part of it anymore. They sorted that out with getting someone like Kumar Sangakkara in. And I think, as you said, the fact they got Sanju Samson now, an Indian captain, I do sometimes think that makes a difference. I know we've had like successful international captains like David Warner at Sunrisers, for example, but I do think that a lot of the franchises go for an Indian player who they know could be the bedrock of that side for a number of years to come. And Sanju Samson can be that person for Rajasthan Royals. I think that's a good move. Young, give him the experience, give him some responsibility. I think it might improve his batting, because I feel like sometimes he gives his wicket away at times because the game comes too easy for him. There's not necessarily criticism of him. It's just the way he is as a player sometimes. So I think this could help enhance him as a cricketer. And I think sort out the order as well. Make sure Joss Butler stays at the top. I think he used to come in down at the middle order sometimes. They couldn't figure out the best place for him. Ajinkya Rahane, they had a lot of question marks about him. Again, that was a leadership issue. Him, Steve Smith, who's the captain. They kept dovetailing between the two. So I think having a clear, defined structure now, where are your best players going to be? I think Ben Stokes was brilliant. I think got 100 as an opener, or number 3 last year as well. So I think having clearly defined roles for your players and your leadership group, that's going to be key on and off the pitch as well. And I think they've made a good move in the off season as well. And obviously a lot of eyes will be on Moneybags, Chris Morris as well. I'll be curious to see how that goes.
Absolutely, indeed. And Yashasvi Jaiswal as well, another one who may be given his opportunity. Obviously, a great backstory with all that he's been through to make it to the top. We're just going to move on because I'm just conscious of time at the moment. So Abhishek, we were talking about leadership there, a team that has got now a solid leader, the Kolkata Knight Riders. Owen Morgan, England captain, Kolkata Knight Riders captain. The captaincy changed midway through last season. Probably the right decision when you consider how good Owen Morgan is as a leader. Dinesh Karthik just left to concentrate on his cricket really, and have an input whenever the guys feel necessary as well. It seems to have sort of taken a bit of weight off his shoulders. They've got an interesting makeup as well, haven't they? You know, any side led by Owen Morgan, you know they're going to be competitive. You know they're going to be right up there, you know, challenging for those top 4 spots at the very least. What do you make of the Kolkata Knight Riders this season? You know, they've got a couple of veterans in there as well. Harbhajan Singh has gone back and you know, joined his 3rd franchise in his IPL career as well. Still going at the age of around 40, he must be now 39, 40. What do you make of their squad?
I think, see, first of all, you cannot have Owen Morgan in your side and not have him as a leader. He's a born leader, and he's done an exceptional job with England. And once you have somebody like him, who's been one of the best captains in world cricket, he has to be the captain. So I think they got it right there. And Dinesh Karthik is a lovely guy. He's one of the best, nicest guys in world cricket. And you can see that when he had to give up his captaincy, it was taken away from him. He was very much out there. He was helping Owen Morgan as much as he can. And I think between those two, they will handle this team really, really well. And he will have a lot of inputs as well, and especially getting Harbhajan Singh as well this year. He's got world of experience with him. He's won multiple trophies in the IPL with the Chennai, with Mumbai. So he's been there, he's done that. Even if he doesn't play in the squad, he will add a lot of value from the outside in giving them a lot of information going into the tournament. And KKR has always been one of my favorite sides because they just bring in a lot of excitement. The way they play their cricket with the likes of Andre Russell, I think he had a very, very ordinary season last year in 2020. I think he'll make up for it. He'll have a great season going into this year. And they've got some exciting talents in the likes of Nagar Koti, Prasid, Krishna. They've got a great bunch of Indian domestic cricketers. And that's where they make a huge difference. And we were talking about Rajasthan Royals earlier, and that's where they're going to struggle because they don't have a very, very strong domestic cricketers in their ranks. And see, KKR, I think they'll be in the top 3, probably in the top 2. And I will put my money on them this year to try and go and win the trophy when Owen Morgan is leading the side.
And the return of Shakib Al Hassan as well, which is he's a massive player in any side he's going to play in. You know, he's been consistently the world's best all-rounder for so many years up until recently. Just what a cricketer he is, and particularly on those Indian wickets, Ankur, he's going to prove a nightmare, isn't he, if he gets into
it? He gives you that balance, doesn't he, guys? He gives you the balance because he's so good miserly with the ball, but he's so exciting in white ball cricket. I mean, all 3 of us saw him with our own eyes, you know, very close up at the 2019 World Cup in the UK just a couple of years ago. Arguably my player of the tournament for me. And I feel like, you know, this break will have refreshed him. And obviously it's a break that he wouldn't have wanted. But I think if he comes back into this rejuvenated, it's going to be an exciting addition. And I agree with Abhishek. But for me, I thought that they were going to do far better last year, KKR. They had obviously the captaincy change and a few other issues. I really feel like they're the team I am looking forward to seeing the biggest improvement out of all the franchises for sure.
Also, you look at their overseas players, there's so much talent, there's such excitement. It will be difficult for them to pick 4 players. They've got Loki Ferguson, they've got Shakib, they've got Sunil Narayan, they've got Andre Russell, they've got Pat Cummins, they've got Ben Cutting. Like, who do you pick?
And the captain.
And the captain, Owen Morgan. Who do you pick?
Yeah, absolutely. Good problem to have anyway. Right, let's move on to the Chennai Super Kings then. Often dubbed the Dad's Army, the old man's brigade of the IPL. They've mixed it up a little bit. MS Dhoni is of course still leading them. You know, I don't know if this will be his last season in the IPL. Nobody knows. Always keeps his cards close to his chest. You know, Sam Curran is an interesting player. You know, he kind of won over a lot of Chennai supporters last season. Good all-round performances. Dhoni seems to really rate him, which is high praise indeed. You know, he's opening the batting in quite a lot of the games, useful with the ball, good in the field as well. Moeen Ali as well, another England teammate who's moved franchises from Bangalore. What do you make of their whole balance to their side? Are they still lacking in that depth like we felt they were last season?
I would say they have got a few impact players in Jadeja. Dhoni, we're not sure how he's going to turn out because he has been away from international cricket for a very long time. Yes, I've read a lot of articles. I've spoken to a few people in India, and they're saying he's looking very fit. He's looking hungry. But just being fit and hungry is not going to get you to perform in a world-class event. He's not played competitive cricket for a long time. It's very different when you're playing your practice games against the domestic players where you're hitting them for sixes and fours at will. But when you're playing against the likes of Pat Cummins, Rabada, you've got the best spinners, Rashid Khan, you've got the best fast bowlers coming against you, it's not going to be the same story. So he can surprise you. He's got everything you need as a player to perform at the top level. But again, being away from cricket for so long doesn't help. And again, it's an aging team. Let's be honest. I'm not expecting huge things from Chennai Super Kings again. I still feel again they'll be in the bottom four. They're not going to end up in the top four, but there might be something which we all don't know. Again, Suresh Raina, yes, he's retired as well. He has not played competitive cricket for a long time. Can he do the same thing which he has done earlier? It's going to be a bit difficult one. So I'm not going to put my money on Chennai Super Kings for sure.
For me, he's the key player for Chennai. Just briefly, I think with Suresh Raina coming back, he adds a lot of runs. A lot of historical runs. So like Abhishek says, let's see how he does, obviously after having quite a long break and a few issues off the personal issues off the field, sadly for his family. So let's hope that he's rejuvenated and refreshed. But again, can he rediscover the form that we've seen, which has made him one of the highest IPL run scorers of all time? Like Abhishek said, aging team, that's my only concern.
Yeah, a lot depends on the likes of Raina, Jadeja, even Dhoni sort of putting their hands up this time and seeing if they can rediscover some of that magic touch. Jadeja, we hope would go well. He's been in good form, but again, coming off the back of an injury, we don't know how well he will go this season. The Sunrisers Hyderabad is an interesting one. They obviously started last season really badly, came really good towards the end, had that wonderful run right towards the end of that group stages. And a lot of that was down to the fact that Ridhiman Saha was opening the batting. Johnny Bairstow was ultimately dropped from the side. Jason Holder came into that middle order, gave them that balance, that solidity with the ball. He's reliable with the bat down the order as well, particularly in the shorter format when he's only facing a few overs. And Saha was a bit of a revelation at the top of the order. Do you think they're going to try and stick with something similar, something that worked for them at the back end of last season? Or do you think they're going to say, look, Johnny Bairstow, the form he's in, the reputation that he's got, we're back in India, he's had a lot of success in India previously. Are they going to go back to Johnny Bairstow? Is there a way for Saha, Bairstow, Holder, for them all to play in the same side? What do you think, Abhishek?
I don't see Ridhiman Saha playing anywhere in that side if he's not opening. He won't have a place in the side if he's not opening. Let's be very honest.
But hang on, Abhishek. The interesting thing about this one though hasn't Jason Roy been signed by these guys?
Yes, Jason Roy has been signed.
Jason Roy as well.
You'd effectively have this England white ball pairing, which everyone's saying is the best opening partnership in world cricket. Do you just stick those guys in there, or do you say like Saha, you were so good?
You really can't because of the combination. You need bowlers. You can't just win matches in T20 by batters. If you would have 11 batters. Unfortunately, I think bowlers win you more matches than the batters in the T20 competition. You need to have 5 very good bowlers. So I think it's between Jason Roy and Bairstow. I think Bairstow is winning the battle at the moment. He's going to start the tournament. Not sure if he's going to open or Ridhiman Saha opens with David Warner and Bairstow bats down the order. That can be in combination. But as Nikesh mentioned, that Jason Holder is somebody who needs to play in the side. He holds things together when it comes to middle order. He's somebody who can change the course of the game. He can come at number 7 when they need 40 of 3 overs. He's somebody who can win in those matches. And with the ball, he can pick your wickets. He's a gun fielder as well. So and also from the captaincy point of view, I think he's got a great cricketing mind, which he can help David Warner in crunch situations with those small changes or a good suggestion. So I think he's a very key member of the Sunrisers squad. So it's a good problem to have for Sunrisers Hyderabad as well, that they've got some brilliant overseas players to pick from, but to pick 4 would again be a difficult one.
Yeah, Ankur, I was just going to ask you, they've got probably too many overseas stars, haven't they? They've got Warner, they've got Jason Roy, they've got Johnny Bairstow, Kane Williamson. Let's not forget Rashid Khan, who has to play. Jason Holder as well. Who's your four? Go on, pick four.
Good question. Good
Who
question.
would you
I
start
think
the tournament with? Forget
you're,
pitches, forget all that. Who would you?
yeah, you're 100% right. Rashid Khan goes in there inevitably for me. Agree, Jason Holder, because of his leadership, but also his all-round balance that he brings. Warner's your captain. So then I'm choosing one out of Bairstow and Kane Williamson. You know what? Bairstow's been in great form recently. I'd probably have him ahead of Kane right now. And then I'd see what Kane produces in the nets. And that's what you want, competition. You want the best playing against each other and training with each other. But I'd go with that. I don't know about Abhishek.
No, I think I would go pretty much the same. I would go with Warner, Bairstow, Holder, and Rashid. And just because the way the game has progressed in the last 2 or 3 years, yes, Kane Williamson, world beater, the best cricketer in world cricket, one of the best, top 3, but his strike rate again is an issue. Are you going to get into a side with a strike rate of 140 where others can score at a strike rate of 180? And I think
It's ridiculous.
T20 cricket is going where you need to be scoring at over 160 to come into a side now. When I was playing, 120 was good enough. Now 150 doesn't get you in a side. It's ridiculous how T20 cricket has evolved. But yes, unfortunately, Johnny Bairstow wins when it comes to white ball cricket with Kane Williamson.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, and you know, it's going to be a challenge for the coaching staff, for VVS Lakshman and all the guys there to just, you know, mentor these guys really well and make sure that if you are left out of the side for the first few games, that you're not disheartened, your head doesn't drop. You know, everybody's kind of got that good, healthy competition going on during training as well. But, you know, a good problem to have if people are all in form and the morale is good. Let's finally move on to Punjab, the Punjab Kings, as they're known now. You know, Ken, really sort of underwhelming side in the history of the IPL, really. They've had a few flashes of brilliance, tended to generally be towards the bottom of the table most years. You know, they've made a few interesting signings, a couple of Aussies, Riley Meredith, Jai Richardson. You know, they've not done a great deal in international cricket, performed well in the Big Bash, of course. Dawid Malan is an interesting signing. So he comes in to join Chris Jordan, the other Englishman who's already there. Chris Gale came good towards the end of the last IPL, but you know, he's 41 years old now. How much more can you get out of the big man, the universe boss? Has he still got enough in the tank to do it for a full season in the IPL? Ankur, what do you reckon? You know, Punjab, whenever we're talking about predictions for the IPL, we'll say bottom 4 for Punjab most years, won't we?
Yeah, here historically perennial underachievers, right? I mean, it's so rare for them to ever really even challenge for the top. And I think another thing about this side is strike rates. I mean, Gale doesn't have the strike rate he used to have. KL Rahul gets criticised often for his sort of slow starts or periods where he goes quiet as well. And Dawid Malan is a player who has impressed and has been world number 1 T20 ranked batsman as well. But he's not like, again, when Abhishek talks about these 150, 160 strike rate players, these 3 aren't really those. And if you're going to base your batting around those guys, then I think you've got a few concerns. You've got to hope that one of them plays through to the end and then ups their strike rate. But I'd be concerned about them as always. And I feel like with them, they've tried to have a few overhauls over the years. It's never quite worked. A lot of responsibility on KL Rahul. If he doesn't fire, if he doesn't get runs, you know, the rest of the players, maybe the likes of Mayank, there's a lot of responsibility on him as well. I just feel as though as a package, they don't excite me. So that's why I never really bid for them or tout for them at all.
And it's interesting that you mentioned KL and Mayank Agarwal, obviously right up there in the run scoring charts in the last edition of the IPL. But as Abhishek said, strike rate is often a concern, isn't it? Because they might get the runs, but they're ultimately not, you know, batting other teams out of the game. They're still giving other teams a chance by, you know, scoring at that 130 odd strike rate, which was about what both of them were doing in the last season. And then when you've not got the bowling to sort of back it up, you know, there's real world-class bowlers and the likes of Jofra Archer and you know, 1 or 2 others to really nail it and you know, bowl well at the death, restrict the other team, to have that little bit of X factor to go and take, you know, 3 wickets in an over and things like that. They've not really got that kind of cricketer, have they, Abhishek? And I suppose that is a bit of a concern. They're almost like, you know, Chris Gale aside, if he's in his sort of old school form, apart from him, they're almost like an old school T20 side, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think a couple of players do excite me a lot. Nicholas Poran is somebody who can win you matches on his day. He's an exciting talent. I think he's somebody who replicates Chris Gayle, a young Chris Gayle. But Chris Gayle, you have to play him. If he's fit, I think you have to give him at least 5 or 6 games start of the season as an opener. And if he's playing, he has to open. You can't expect Chris Gayle to come at number 4 and 5 and score runs, which he might. But the best chances at opening the innings. And I think they've got Jar Richardson and Meredith. Riley Meredith is an exciting talent as well. I think he can bring a lot to the table. But as Ankur and you mentioned earlier, it's about Mayank Agarwal and KL Rahul. Runs is not going to be a problem. They will score runs. We know that. The problem is, are they going to score runs at a pace which they need to? No point batting for 6 overs when they're both opening and getting 45, where other teams are getting 65. You've lost the game in the first 6 overs against this very good side. So yes, they can make up for it at the end, but what if they get out? That has always been the big question. When they're taking too many deliveries at the start and then getting out, leaving a lot for others to do, and which they don't have. They don't have a middle order to fall back on where they can come and score at 200 with the strike rate of 200 with the likes of Hardik Pandya and Krunal Pandya. They don't have players like that. So they're heavily dependent on the top order. So they need to worry about how quickly they're going to score their runs.
All right, just before we go, I'm going to get predictions from both of you. So I'm going to ask you both, just very briefly, you don't have to give me much of a reason. We've kind of been through a lot of the sides already in quite great detail. Abhishek, who's going to win it?
I'll pick 2 teams, KKR or
one.
Mumbai.
You can't have 2 winners. We're not doing joint trophies like the 2002 Champions Trophy in Sri Lanka, that debacle. We're going for one, Abhishek.
If I had to pick one, I would this year go with KKR.
KKR, interesting. Ankur?
Oh man, I'm so predictable. I have to go with Mumbai again, just because how can I look past? You know what? As much as I love watching Mumbai play, it'd be great to see them really challenged by a KKR as well. Delhi, my only slight reservation is I think Shreyas is so key to that team. I do think that it will be interesting to see how not having his cool, calm leadership might hinder them. In terms of another outsider that might come into the mix, I don't know, I'm going to throw Sunrisers in there because they've shown pedigree in the past, but it's hard to look past Mumbai, and then it becomes a bit of a mishmash after that.
Yeah,
I'm going Sunrisers. I think I'm going to go outside the box this time. I just like the setup. I like the fact that they've got so much depth in terms of both local players and all the world-class overseas players that we've mentioned as well. So let's see how they go. Top run scorer, Abhishek.
Oh, Virat Kohli.
Okay, Ankur.
KL Rahul, he's always there or thereabouts.
I think I'm going to go David Warner. I think that back in India, he's done so well there in the past. You know, he's leading that side. I think he's got a few points to prove as well. He's been a little bit inconsistent over the last year or so with his form. I think
I might change mine. I might change mine to go for a Rajasthan opener. Maybe Just Butler. Or Ben Stokes. I'm going to go with one of them. Change my mind.
Warner is his fitness. Will he be fit for the whole tournament?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, or Sanju Samson. Look at me. I'm changing my mind every time.
Mate, let's stick with your one.
Blows with the wind. Ankur Desai. You can change your Twitter handle now. Ankur Desai. Blows with the wind. Right. Yeah. I'm going top wicket taker Rashid Khan. I'm going very Sunrisers heavy. I don't even, you know, I've never really followed them with any great passion previously. In fact, you know, yeah, I've just never really had any much interest in them. I just think they'll do really well this season. So Rashid Khan for me, top wicket taker.
I'm going to go with another Sunriser, Bhuvi, just because he's back and he's in form. I'll go with Bhuvneshwar Kumar.
Good shout. Good shout. Ankur, just one, please.
Oh, man. Jasprit Bumrah.
Yes, I knew it. I knew it. I had it in my head. He's going to go with Jasprit
Bumrah. Fresh off his nuptials, he'll be extra motivated to take wickets for his new wife.
Just because she's hosting the show.
She'll be hosting as well.
There you go. You'll be eager to impress, especially when they play the KKR, because I think she does some bits for the KKR, right?
Yeah, well, let's see. Right, so you know, all our predictions they'll probably be proven to be wrong as usual, but it's been good fun anyway, and we'll have lots more fun for you over the coming weeks as well. We'll have shows for you. Hopefully every week we'll be recapping some of the best performances and looking ahead to what is left to come this season during the IPL. Don't forget that in the UK, certainly, and in certain regions around the world, Abhishek, Ankur and myself will all be part of the BBC 5 Live Sports Extra commentary team, bringing you ball-by-ball coverage across the tournament. And that, of course, starts with the big one, the opening match, the Mumbai Indians versus the Royal Challengers Bangalore, which is on Friday, and straight throughout the rest of the tournament as well. So do join us if you can. But for now, that is it from us, and join us soon. Thank you.